This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hello, welcome to Review Corner. Well, today we are talking about Runewars. Not Runewars the board game, Runewars the miniature game. Now I've done some paint tutorials on it so far and I've got a few more to do. I'm sure you'll see them here on the Mighty Miniature Market and of course on my YouTube channel. You can see 3 of them. I did an actual live one too. But the best part about it is right now we're going to talk about the game. Now I'm not going to cover every single rule in the game. That's just impossible. But what we are going to do is go over it, talk a little bit about it, make sure that you guys get the mechanics of it, and then you can just kind of have an understanding going into that rule book. And the best thing that we can do, let's take a look at the army that I painted, and then let's head to the board and see how everything looks. Why don't we get going right now? As you can see here, I got these guys all painted up. They're pretty decent quality miniatures. They're not Games Workshop quality, but they're good, solid, paintable. A little hard for the beginner to put together, I think, because it's very bendy plastic, but I think you get through it, and as you can see, you get a pretty good result once you get them all put together and painted, and it looks fun. Right here we got just a little demo game that I'm going to put together. This isn't all the pieces of it, it's just to explain a little bit of the rules. Here's the dials. Kind of like X-Wing a bit. On the back there it shows the defense and how many wounds each unit can take, and each symbol means something. Turns, attacks, ranged attacks, rallying. You would dial that in, and those white numbers there are basically the initiative numbers. So kind of like X-Wing, the same way you would go work your way up. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and every time you have one of those numbers, you would call out and you would take your turn. If you were tied with somebody, then whoever had initiative for that round would go first, and it would go in order. And of course the enemies, each unit has a specific dial. So there could be quite a bit of dials on the field. Now these are runes, and the beginning of the turn you would shake and just toss them onto the battlefield. And that's the magic that would be available for that particular turn. So say you had a card with a special ability that needed a certain wind of magic, you would be able to see if it was out there and then be able to use it, and your opponent would be able to do the same as well. There's blanks, there's different colors, and so forth and so on. The game comes with some really great cards, as you can see, that help you along, explain each one of the dials: the charge, the turns, wheel, turn charging, defense, enhance attack, bonus actions. Those are all things that are on those dials that you can choose, and you'll be able to do the other actions on the other dial, which is march, shift. You can shift your formation, reform, melee attack, ranged attack, rally, skill. You put that, and then you would just use that particular skill for that turn. And of course, the game comes with a range ruler up to 5. Everybody that shoots has a range of 5 in this initial box set. I'm sure as they go on, there'll be things that have shorter range that they can shoot, and so forth and so on as the units progress. This also comes with a card that explains all the dice icons. As you can see, a hit is a blast. Surge, if you get surges, you can apply them to certain things. Mortal Strike, which is only on the white dice. Morale we'll talk about a little later, and accuracy we won't talk about at all. It's only when you upgrade your unit that accuracy comes into effect. First couple of games you will not have that. And everything's done real nice, so you have it all in front of you in case you have any questions. And the rules are very, very well explained out in the game. Now we're going to turn the dial, and we're just going to kind of set up and do kind of an action just to explain a few things. Right there, I'm setting a charge. So I would charge into a unit, and as you can see, I'm setting my initiative at 4 and a charge factor, a movement factor with a charge. And I didn't grab the right dial for those units, but we just have it on the other side. Right now we're going to take a look and see how ranged attack works. So those archers there are going to fire into that unit right there. They're well within range. And on their card tells you how many dice you would roll and what color. So for a ranged attack, you would roll a red and a blue, as you can see. Now you grab the appropriate dice, and of course, if whatever you had on your dial, you would reveal on your dial that you were attacking, or maybe you had some kind of bonus that would give you additional damage that you were able to play into it. So we're going to roll the dice here. And as you can see, we got a hit and a surge. And then we got a hit and one of those accuracies, but that doesn't mean anything. So we had one surge. Now if we had 2 surge, we would be able to enable this ability on the reanimated archers, but we don't. Instead we just have 2 hits. Now the defense, which is 1, we beat that because we got 2 hits. And they take 1 damage, so each unit we would apply 2. So he would be gone for 1, he would be gone for 2, so they would have lost 2. And you always pull from the back row, as I pointed out a little too late actually. But I grabbed them from the first row. Actually, hey, we're taping, what can I tell you? So that's how ranged attack could go. There are certain things and abilities that would do even more, and maybe you can lose an entire thing. You really soften these guys up before they come in and hit you. Now we chose to charge there. As you see, the charge icon on the left matched up with the 4, so we would count up. So say the archers were 1. We would go 2. Does anybody have any 2s? If nobody says 2, then we move on to the next number, and then finally 4, which would be our spearmen. And this is the template that they would use. As you saw, we would have to use that little number, which was 2, and for the charge. And as you see, it fits into the corner just like Armada and moves right up into there. Now if we were short, we would have taken a panic. Now I'm going to take that unit out of there and just show you, if we hit that unit just like that, you get a free move, which is called, because you've hit, you reform. So basically you would square up on the unit, and you would be able to move and center yourself right onto the unit. So now we're attacking those archers, and we're in melee combat because we did the charge. We get to roll a red and a blue. Now there's certain things that give us modifiers that can really help things, but because we have an additional unit there attached to us, everything's doubled. So if we roll 2 wounds, each wound is times 2 because they're both attacking, as you can see. Now if we, like I said, if we were short, we would get a morale, or as they call, a panic token, and that unit would be short. So you really have to make sure that they're coming at you, and that's the thing. There's a lot of strategy involved in this. And there's the panic token. That counts as a morale token, but we'll explain how that all works a little bit later. So let's get back to what we really want to see, is what happens when we are in a charge or a melee. So what happens here is that both of them, as I had pointed out, each wound is times 2. So we rolled 2 wounds. So there's 1 wound, which is 2. Now because of the extra unit. And then now it could have been more if we had moved that dial, if we had used that. See, that actually would give you an additional wound. So there's ways to manipulate and get extra wounds. But we actually have 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So we would do 4 damage, and the skeletons, yeah, exactly 4 damage, which has a 1 defense, which we blew away, now take 4 damage to that unit. They only have 1 wound each each figure has 1 wound, so 4 wounds means that entire tray would go bye-bye. Exactly. So it's as easy as that to wipe somebody out if you have the right maneuverability and you are able to outguess your opponent and be able to get in there and outmaneuver them. So we're going to put them back. So let's just say it was the skeleton's turn. Okay? And what happened is that we rolled, but instead of hit, we got panic or morale tokens. And remember that morale token that we were talking about earlier? So let's say there was 3 there. Okay? Now, no damage is assessed, but they have things called morale cards. So we would draw 3 morale cards from the deck, as you can see. We would flip them over, and of course, being that I didn't shuffle very well, you would get to pick 1. But let's just say, for all sake purposes, that there is a 2 there. Okay? Now, you can only spend the morale. You can only pick 1 of the cards. But let's just say that, for pity's sake, that we rolled blanks, but we only had the 1 morale. We would only be able to buy a card that had 1 on it. Okay? So we would only be able to for that cost. Now, if we had all 3 of them, we would get 2 and the other one would be wasted. But if we only had 1, we've only drawn 1 card. So if we drew that card with 2 morale, guess what? We couldn't do anything with it and the unit would be unaffected. So you really got to, those morale cards can be pretty nasty, but also you can draw blanks and nothing can happen and they could just kind of stand tall. Here you can see that there's also special armors and things like that, and special abilities that you can buy for the units. You can point up the units, and you'll find that altogether this really comes together really well. It also comes with some cardboard scenery, which is okay and nice. If you just want to throw it on a table on a green mat, kind of just like what we just did right here. There's a card in there that explains what the terrain does. Sometimes it does a deadly 3, which can do damage. Sometimes it does nothing. Sometimes it blocks line of sight and things like that, or you can't maneuver through it. They have different scenarios for it. All in all, this is a very fascinating game. Very well put together. I like what they did. It's very simple, but very to the point, and I think it's pretty cool. So without further ado, why don't we send it up top and get on out of here and get my final thoughts on Runewars. So let's head up. Okay, so there you go. There you have it. Not all the rules, brief overview, talk a little bit about it, some of the cool things about it, some of the things that are a little nagging about it. My opinion, I think it's a good game. I think it's a good entry-level miniature game. It gets a little confusing, a little wordy, but it's pretty simple. And if you are just a board game player and love that universe, this might be the game for you. Was it hard to paint? No. Follow my instructions. Or there are other great channels that are very heavy instructions, so if you're a professional, you may want to go there. I tend to lean towards a person to make it a beginning experience and something that maybe those that never picked up a brush before will pick it up for the first time. This game, very good. The figures, good. There's nothing exceptional about it. I mean, there's nothing that I go, oh my God, I'm going to play this every single weekend. It is a miniatures game, plain and simple. The rules are pretty simple. It's X-wingy. If you're tired of that mechanic, don't get this, because it's kind of X-wingy. Is that even a word, X-wingy? but it's very heavy in that kind of mechanic. If you enjoy this, you're going to enjoy, I mean, if you enjoy that, you're going to enjoy this. So it does have their tournament play kind of standards and everything. I'm looking forward to seeing some more units. I think the dials would pile up if you wanted to play a massive battle, and it could get a little confusing at times. But, you know, and I'm looking at it from a beginner's point of view. For me, this was very easy. And I try to look at it, okay, if I've never played a game, how would I go about this, and would this be overwhelming for me? I don't think it'd be overwhelming. I do think there'd be a learning curve, but I think you would enjoy it. It's a good game. And if I have to give it any rating at all, I mean, I'd give it four stars. 4 stars out of 5. It's good. It's something that's I think can grow in time. It's a nice base set. It's well worth the money, and it is fun. And that's the most important thing. We're going to do a live playthrough of it. I hope you check out my channel, Rob Warren, and you will see that live playthrough. And you could see a person that's never played a miniature game before play a miniature game, or who doesn't play very many, and see how she adapts to it, and see if it's for you. That's pretty much it. You know, if I gave it a 3, I think it would be too low. If I gave it, you know, a 4 is kind of stretching it, but I think if I had to give anything, it's more towards the 4 than it is the 3, so we'll give it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I liked it. It was fun, but it was nothing that blew me out of the water. Well, that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the painting aspects of it, and I hope you give it a try. We will walk you through everything. Without further ado, that is it for this review. I will see you next time on Review Corner. I'm Rob Warren. We'll see you soon. Sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, videos, and written reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, online gaming superstore, thousands of games and minis, discount prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.